Alright, Schlockmeister fans, an obscure German film called Der REIGEN, otherwise known as Dance of Love or Merry-Go-Round. Let's check it out. Alright, this is a lady of the evening, a prostitute.
No, it's too late. I'm due at the castle.
And she's trying to pick up a man.
My place is better.
Eventually they got down and dirty down by the riverside.
On the beach, it's a lot better, actually.
Then he leaves her. He goes off to a party somewhere. And finds a new girl. That's Maria, played by Sidney Rome. He's trying to woo her now.
But we hardly know each other.
Well, there's only one way to take care of that.
Yes,
I feel I know you're alive.
Oh, it's...
Eventually they go for a roll in the hay also.
Yes. Order a beer or two, will you?
And then he leaves her in the lurch for somebody else. Which leaves Maria crying. Now when Maria's not whoring around with hooker-loving soldiers, she's a maid at this house. And she's now trying to score with the guy who lives there. And pretty soon they're getting it on too. Then after he's done with the maid, this guy, Alfred I think is his name, moves on to the next woman. You see a pattern here? Couple sleeps together, then one moves on to the next, and then the next, and then the next. I think you picked the right woman because there's seduction going on now. But the poor fella has an oops before anything can happen. So they try again, but again, way too quick and nothing really much occurs. It's just not his day. And she moves on to this guy named Felix, who I believe is her husband.
You come to us undefiled and do, at least to some extent, purified feelings. Your innocence, in fact, gives you...
He keeps asking her questions about how pure she was before they met.
My darling.
Answer my question, then. Was there a married woman among your creatures?
So she asks him right back.
You know what I mean. Answer.
If you ask a question, painful recollection is too.
Who was it? Do I know?
Questions of us.
Felix. Was it long ago? Was it long before our marriage?
Don't ask that thing. You're pleased with us.
Eventually all the sexy talk gets them both hot and bothered.
Do you know, Felix, what's going through my head?
Then her husband moves on to the next woman.
Stopped feeling warmer. Here, come here. I want to talk to you. Now, what honest story? That wasn't the first time you noticed me, was it?
I met you only today.
Yes, you did, of course, but I followed you yesterday, the day before. I have followed you for days.
She apparently has no boyfriend, so she's perfect.
Oh, go on, be honest.
No, it's true, I'm honest.
What do you think I am? You must be joking, my dear. Are you really telling me that you don't?
It's true. I haven't had one in 6 months.
And then he starts making his move on her.
Really telling you?
Don't look at me that way, no.
And the next thing you know, he's tearing her clothes off, which I can't show you.
Oh, what are you doing? Felix, what are you doing? Felix. Well,
Then we see her move on to the next person. This is the poet. He's a pianist.
Oh, well, I didn't write at all.
The actress there is Maria Schneider.
I should like to have written it. That's better than nothing. It's beautiful.
I think she has an interest in him.
I like candles.
I think the feeling is mutual.
I'd much rather lie here with you.
Do you mind if we lit some light on?
Don't be silly. This is our protection against the world. Think of the darkness as a kind of cloak. Away.
And then they're getting it on.
Darling.
Tell me you love me first, please.
Oh, yes, you know I do. I am.
Tell me you love me, darling.
Our poet has now moved on to another woman also.
Dirty tricks on
And pretty
you.
soon they go to bed too.
Someone you've never even seen. Someone you don't even know.
Well, that woman, an actress, moves on to somebody else herself.
Fine show, really. I saw you perform last night. You were a goddess.
Yes. I was really that good, you think?
Isn't that?
They do a lot of talking and take their own sweet time, but eventually they get there also.
I find it hot in here.
Oh, yes, I do.
My dear Cal, I don't think this was on your program. Cal,
They then do the deed.
what do you believe is now your philosophy?
Oh, a little devil, aren't you?
Have I deserved that?
Actually, I meant an angel.
That guy is the Count, and he eventually goes to visit a prostitute.
I am strange.
The same prostitute we saw at the beginning of the film.
Look like her?
It is incredible. Incredible.
Yeah.
But are they going to actually do anything?
Tell me then, do you think that I don't like you?
What makes you ask that for now? Last night, there was no question.
How much nicer if I had merely kissed both of her eyes. I might have felt like an affair in a way. No, it wasn't meant to be.
That's our movie. All right, let's talk about Der REIGEN, otherwise known as Merry-Go-Round, otherwise known as Dance of Love, which was the on-screen title here. What is this movie and why do I have it? Well, way back in the mid-'80s when we first got our beta VCR, the first VCR I ever had, I went back and looked through all my old cable guides, which I'd saved for the previous 2.5 years, and I wrote down any movie that I said, if it ever comes back on cable, I will tape it. And when I say cable, I'm talking about HBO, Showtime, and the Movie Channel, the 3 channels that we had. Ended up having 143 movies on that list, and eventually I tracked them all down. A few years later, I went back through those same cable guys and some later ones actually, and wrote down a second list of movies that if they ever came back, I would tape. There was 167 of these. I eventually tracked all of them down as well. Took many years to track those down because a lot of the movies I would pick out on this list were movies I hadn't seen before. Some of them were Skinemax types movies, late night nudity filled things, like Joy of Flying or Island of a Thousand Delights, Vanessa. Some of these movies I've already reviewed. And one of the movies I came across was something called Merry-Go-Round, which eventually I was able to track down probably in the late 90s, early 2000s through the help of IMDb, that the movie was called Der REIGEN, 1973. And then I was able to track down a PAL VHS tape of it, which I still have, which I think was the source of the burned DVD that I used to watch this today. The PAL DVD is in English. The PAL VHS tape is in English. The PAL DVD, Der REIGEN, is from Germany and is not in English. It's a German soundtrack only. So while the picture quality on this one is probably fantastic, the picture quality of the English track version I have is shit, which you saw. It is what it is. Actually, I think that VHS tape came from Greece. I think those are Greek subtitles down below. But anyway, what is the movie? Well, the movie is basically a merry-go-round of sex partners, love partners. It starts out with this prostitute who is taking care of her guy down by the river. They end up having sex. And then the guy goes and meets this other girl and he has sex with her. And then the girl goes and meets another guy and she has sex. There's married couples involved, just real couples, married couples, non-married couples. And we just see them hop from bed to bed to bed to bed to bed to bed. Eventually, at the end of the movie, this one guy is meeting up with this prostitute who was the same prostitute that we saw at the very beginning of the movie. So, how sometimes they say, if you sleep with somebody, you're sleeping with all the partners they had as well. Well, that's what we see here. It's basically a carousel of love. So we come full circle where the first person we see is the last person we see also. Although the last time we see her, the two of them didn't have sex, I don't think. So anyway, that's how the movie ended. Now, this was originally a play written by a guy named Arthur Schnitzler. It was first made into a film in 1950 called La Ronde, which I suspect is a French play. So like a play, this movie is very dialogue driven. There's a lot of dialogue between the characters here. But unlike the play, I'm assuming, if you've seen my channel, which obviously you have, you know that I review a lot of early 70s German sexy, silly comedies that are just filled with nudity, buxom women, that sort of thing. And this is a German film from the same era. And like those movies, lots of nudity in this movie. Now, this movie, even though it's not a silly sex comedy, it's mainstream. I assume it was mainstream with some legit actors and actresses who I've seen before in other things. But there's plenty of nudity in this one too. So they have that in common. The Germans were not afraid to show skin in the early 70s. Bless your German hearts. So anyway, that is Der Regen, directed by a guy named Otto Schenk. I don't really know what more to tell you about it. It was a decent film. It wasn't a bad film by any means. And it entertained me enough. Like I said, it's very dialogue driven, but it was fairly entertaining. You know, I broke it up over a couple of viewings. I think I watched an hour here and then an hour a little later on. Maybe that's the way to do it. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Unfortunately, like I said, the DVD is only available in a German language. So either brush up on your German or track down the PAL VHS like I have too, with the Greek subtitles, and maybe you can watch the English soundtrack version. So anyway, there you go. Der Regen, Merry-Go-Round, Dance of Love, whatever you call it. It's not a bad film by any means. I'm the only one who's ever seen this movie, ain't I? I don't know. Check it out. Leave some comments. I'll leave a link to it down below if you're looking to buy it. And you should buy it. Check it out. Watch it. Bye.